Welcome to How Would You Write It? Hi, I'm Nania Taylor. And if you're interested in the art of storytelling, you're in the right place. So hit that subscribe button and let's get started. I'm so very excited today that my guest is Terri Viani, screenwriter, who started her career at Disney's ABC hit show, The Brand Spanking New Doug. And if you remember that animation, Doug, this is the remake of that. I love that. I'm excited to talk to you about that because I love Doug. Okay, after Disney, she freelanced in New York City before moving to New England to write for the Westerly Sun and the Stonebridge Press Rural Newspaper Group, while also turning her attention back to screenwriting. You were juggling right there. That's a
all over the
lot.
place. Yeah.
She recently sold her rom-com to Crown Media and a feature film dramedy to Wikidose Productions. Okay, go ahead, Terri. Terri lived and traveled around the world as a teen, including in Saudi Arabia and the Soviet Union. She spent her high school years at an all-girls boarding school in the English countryside and now resides in Connecticut with one husband and 3 cats. Terri writes comedies, rom-coms, and feel-good dramedies about offbeat characters, searching for their misplaced piece of the American dream in a place to call home. Welcome, Terri.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be fun, I can tell.
Oh, I guess I hope you find it fun because I want you to come back because you are
Yes.
doing it, Miss Lady. I love your history and your experience. And I'm so happy that you're here because you're a rom-com writer and I need all the knowledge that you feel like dropping down to me. Okay.
All right.
I want to get started with talking about your experience in writing animation, like the brand spanking new Doug on Disney ABC. Like, how was that like getting your teeth in animation?
Well, it actually completely happened by accident. I had moved to New York with like $300 in my pocket, what you'd never do today. And I was temping. And they sent me to a place called Jumbo Pictures to be a fill-in receptionist for 3 days. And I thought, Jumbo Pictures, do they make like big family photographs? Like, is it a gimmicky thing? And I got down there and I walked in and I saw all like cutouts of the Nickelodeon characters. And I thought, oh, this is an animation house. So I started as a 3-day temp receptionist, and then I became the showrunner's assistant on Doug. And my showrunner was awesome. He's an amazing guy. And he said to me, if you do a good job for me, I'll give you your shot. So I started, he started to trust me. I started to do a little editing on the script, like the showrunner would do. He talked to me about it and let me get my teeth in it. And then towards the end of Doug's last season, he kept his word and he gave me my shot and I wrote an episode. And it was really, really fun. But I never intended to do animation. In all honesty, I'm not a person who watches a lot of animation or gets, some people love animation, more power to them. But it was a great experience. I loved working for the company. It was really neat to watch my story go to the artists and then go into post. I was there at the voice recording. So for a young writer coming up, it was an incredible experience. And I'm so grateful to Mark, my showrunner, just because he kept his word. He didn't have to. He didn't have to give some young writer a shot. He could have given it to a more experienced writer. And he was like, no, I'm going to let you take your shot. And from what I heard, the owners of the company were a little bit concerned because they didn't know me. They didn't know my writing because I hadn't written anything for them. And Mark said to them, I'll guarantee the script. If she can't deliver, I will write the script. And which he did not have time to do, but he didn't have to do that because I delivered. So
You did. I love that. So with your history of writing between, this animation where you worked on that and now writing rom-coms, is there a different kind of standard of the writing process? Like is the script, I guess my question would be, is the formatting the same in scripts for the animation compared to what you would do for writing a rom-com feature or a pilot?
no, the writing, the formatting is different.
Okay.
It's hard to remember because it was a long time ago.
Mhm.
But the formatting is different. I had to learn the format because I was writing my own specs at home, but I was writing TV shows like dramas and I was writing like, sci-fi scripts and that kind of thing at home. Um, and it is a learning curve with animation. I mean, it's almost, I'm working on an audio podcast now, and
Mhm.
it's the same type of thing. If you're going from a visual screenplay to audio play, there's a whole learning curve. And it was the same with animation. I was busy at home writing TV show and movie specs. And so to write the animation, the formatting, there was a learning curve. And to your point, it does impact the creativity because we get so used to that formatting we're used to, and it just flies. And when you have to stop and go, oh, wait a minute, I've got to do something different here in the formatting, it does impact your story flow. So
Would you ever consider going back to animation?
oh, sure. Like if someone asked me to write something animated, I would do it, sure, in a heartbeat. But it's not really where my focus is right now. I really like live people. You know what I mean? Like I like to look at the characters. And there to me, I'm gonna get they hate on this. Nothing against animation. To me, it always feels a little bit of a story and emotional disconnect when I'm watching animated characters, as opposed to flesh and blood people. So it's
Okay,
just
I totally get that. I
yeah.
totally get that. With going to England and working at the two newspapers that you were doing, and then going back into screenwriting, like what was that? What was the? Were you still writing before then, or were you still writing scripts before you started doing the working at the newspaper, or were you just like when you got to newspaper, you said to yourself, you know what, I'm missing writing screenwriting. Let me get back into that.
Well, I'll be honest.
Uh-huh.
So when I got my Doug script and it was fairly well received,
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to write a couple other things in animation living in New York. And I was young and I was scared. And I saw what I wanted coming at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little bit of that imposter syndrome. And I left the city because I thought, I don't know that I can do this. It's like now there's an expectation of me. Um, and so I spent probably the next decade, I was still writing stuff at home, but
Mm-hmm.
I was doing things like writing web pages, writing newspaper articles, because I still had my hand in, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to take the risk of screenwriting and putting my stories out there.
That
Um,
imposter syndrome would mess you up
I
every
know.
time.
And then I don't know how it was 10 years ago or so. I can
Mm-hmm.
still remember the moment, stand at my kitchen counter, I'm slicing an apple, and I had this vision of myself on my porch at 90 something years old in a rocker, thinking about if only I'd had the courage to try. And I said to my husband, I got to get back in. This time I'm going to do it until it's going to be hard. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be expensive at times because the contests and all that. But I said, I'm going to do it until and then I started working on some projects I had in mind. And here I am now. So yeah.
Love it. I love it. So, you lived everywhere from like Saudi Arabia and then Soviet Union. Were there any places that impacted you where you felt like you felt more comfortable? Because it's always like I always think of myself, hey, if I lived on a beach in Hawaii or something like that, the stories would just flow to me better. But you made a feature that we're going to talk about, the last story in Alaska. We're going to talk about that feature that you blessed me to be able to read, and I love the script. But I just want to talk about traveling as a writer and living in different places as a writer. That the energy that you get from each place. I guess I'm coming up from a TikTok question here because I saw a young lady on TikTok who travels and she writes and she gets different energy in different places that she writes. Did you find that in any?
Well, when I was doing, I just want to clear up, I didn't live in the Soviet Union. I traveled there,
Okay.
just to make, because my boarding school would take us all the girls on these amazing trips, and they took us to the Soviet
Gotcha.
Union when it was the Soviet Union.
Hmm.
I wasn't really writing then. I was really involved in drama at school and acting, and
Hmm.
I thought I was going to be an actor. Um, but I think you can trace a line back to that time in my life when I was moving around a lot. It was to the same places, but I'd be school year in England, summers in Saudi Arabia, or back here in the States, and then traveling to other countries. And I think what that gave me was a sense of this is going to sound so cliche, but the human condition, because you see people in all walks of life and you talk to people and you think, we're different, but we're the same. Like,
Hmm.
no, we're different, but we're the same. And also, I think it gave me a desire to have one place to call home. The traveling was amazing. I mean, I am so grateful that my parents said, you know what? we were bored. Let's go live in the Middle East for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think why I'm looking for characters, my characters are all looking for a place to call home. It's existential, like that existential place to put your feet up,
Mm-hmm.
on the cosmic coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that desire to say, I'm going to stay put, like I'm here, and this is where I am. Because after it wasn't just when I was in school. I mean, after I went to grad school and I lived in Tennessee and I lived in Georgia and I lived in LA and I lived in Boston. So I went around for a while. And so now my characters all want that place that they can decorate and nest, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that comes from that. So
So would you say that you got influenced to start writing screenwriting from when you were doing drama and stage plays and stuff like that in school? Where
oh,
did you
absolutely.
where did the
Yeah.
initial itch come from?
Well, I think that I always kind of wanted to be a writer. I mean, I'm a huge reader. I was as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was kind of scared. I wasn't scared to be an actor, but I felt scared to be a writer. And I'm not, I should probably unpack that at some point, but I don't know why. Um, and I went to grad school. I did film, no, I did communications as an undergrad, and then I did graduate work in film. But then I just sort of, I was applying to jobs that were like, communications assistant and all this. And I remember I was very frustrated in my early 20s talking to my mom, and she said, well, what is it you want to do? And for the first time in my life, I said, I want to be a writer. And she said, then go do it. Go do it. And I said, what if it doesn't work out? And she said to me something I've carried since then. She said, just because something might not work out doesn't mean the initial decision to try was wrong. So go do it. And I haven't looked back. And so I got to give my mom props on that, because she didn't say, oh, you can't make a career or do something sensible. She said, life is short, go for it, go do it.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. And this, can you restate what she did, that little statement that she said? It just because it doesn't work out.
She said, just because something doesn't work out in the end doesn't mean that the initial decision to try was wrong.
I hope everyone hears that,
Yeah.
because that is such great advice. I pray
Yeah.
that everyone who has a dream, I don't care whatever dream that it is, has someone who speaks life into them and says, hey, just, try. It's no harm in trying.
Yeah.
You never know what comes out of it. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what
Yeah.
experience that you're going to have. You never know what testimony that you can give someone else for just having that experience. I love that. I
Yeah,
love.
and it's so wonderful to feel that you don't have to live in shame if something doesn't work out. Because it is,
Mhm.
people don't necessarily understand how the business works, in the sense of you can write for years and never really get anything produced or whatever. And I think there can be a lot of shame with that, because you think, oh, what am I doing? So to be sort of released from that shame and be like, my family's behind me 100%, now my husband's behind me 100%, is it's an enormous gift. And I wish all creatives had that.
Same, same. Um, Thank your mom for me on that one, because
I will.
um, um, let's talk about your feature, the feature script
Mhm.
that I'm praying makes it somewhere, because I would love to see this on
Yeah, me
screen.
too. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's called The Last Video Store in Alaska. Can you give the short blurb of what it's about?
Sure. It's about high school sweethearts in Alaska, who have a falling out when
Mm,
they're kids and go their separate ways. She stays and runs the old family video store. He goes on to create a very successful internet company in Alaska, and he comes back into town to bring internet to. It's set in Nome, Alaska, to bring internet to Nome,
mhm,
and they rekindle, but the problem is his internet will put her out of business. um because in So I got the idea for this. I read an article about how video stores had lasted longer in Alaska than anywhere else in the country.
mhm,
um and so I thought, well, I've got to write something set in a video store in Alaska, and it's either going to be horror or a rom-com, and I don't really do horror, so it's got to be a rom-com.
mhm,
um, and so once internet starts to come in, which they now have internet, it's not where the way it used to be. Um, Video stores were no longer needed because people could stream. I
mhm.
mean, they could stream before, but it was very slow, very expensive. And so, yeah, thus the story was born, and how he's gonna he's got to decide between loving her or a successful business. So basically,
And I'm not going to give the ending away, but because it's something that I I love. And I first thought I thought I had read it before I had read your breakdown of it that you sent me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this would be great at Hallmark. This would be great at Hallmark. And then I went back and read your write-up for me, the little summarization that you gave me. And you're like, oh, it did go to Hallmark. Can you tell the story of how Hallmark optioned it
Sure.
and what that experience was like?
Well, so I finished the script a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the year, and my manager took it out in January, and Hallmark picked it up in February. So this was not a script that was going around for a while. And I didn't know he was doing that. He was met someone at a party and was like, I've got the script, and so they read it, they loved it. Um, and it took a while to get the contract. And meanwhile, I'm having a nervous breakdown that something's going to happen. And I had never really thought about working with Hallmark because I don't tend to write. They're very good at what they do. They're very specific about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And my vibe was a little bit quirkier than that. But I said, I'm excited to work with them. Like, why not? So got the contract, and then I started working with two people. They were my development team, and we went through the whole thing, different rounds of the script, of turning drafts in. And I will say that they were amazing. Like, I can't speak to other writers' experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt so valued as a writer working with them. I felt like they loved writers. They wanted me to succeed. They wanted the script to succeed. Even though eventually it didn't get greenlit by them, it was an amazing experience. I think the reason it didn't get greenlit was because at the end of the day, I know they loved the script, and they also asked me back in to pitch some other ideas, which inspires confidence that they like my writing and all that. But I think what happened is, and I haven't been told this, so this is not gospel. It's just me thinking, is that because they are so good at what they do, they have a lot of confidence in their process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in many ways, they don't need to step out of that process.
Mm-hmm.
They have the locations they use, the actors they use, the post-production they use. And from reading Last Video Store, there's some certain things in there, like even the opening with the musk ox. I don't know how they would make that work for their vibe, and what they're trying to do. Um, and I always kind of had that in the back of my head. I was like, I'm really curious to see how they're going to do all this.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, I don't think they could make it work for what they wanted. So we parted ways basically on the script in a very pleasant way.
Mm-hmm.
They were very apologetic. My main development person, who was a doll, she was like, I have pushed for this so hard. And I was like, I believe you. I'm not sour. Like, because it was such a great experience. I mean, we all want to see that movie on the TV or on screen with our name, but just being able to go through that experience with them and have such a wonderful experience when you can have terrible experiences in this business,
Yeah.
it was a gift. So that's what happened with that.
Now the opening scene with the sled chase and the snowball shaped bed and breakfast. I love what was those like in your as a writer in our imagination. How did you come up with the snowball shape bed and breakfast? Like in my head, I don't in my head I see the snowball, but I also see the igloo shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was just like, is that what inspired you for that? Or
Yeah, I mean, I thought about doing an igloo, but again, then we run into issues of appropriation and cultural appropriation and that. But I wanted something snow and whatnot, so I thought, oh, I'm just gonna make it a giant snowball, and I'm just gonna go with it, and it's gonna be cool if anyone ever puts it on.
it really is
So
a
yeah,
very cool scene. Like it's
yeah.
so what do they do nowadays? They do this or something like that. It's a good, it's a good, I don't know what it is, but it was a great, perfect opening scene.
Oh,
I
thank you.
love this script. I love this script. I'm praying that it does land somewhere because it does need to. I love rom-coms. I'm not great at writing them yet, but I love rom-coms, and this was just I love this rom-com, Terri. It was
Oh, I'm
so
so pleased. That's that people love it is I don't know, it's just great. It's like you write something and people say, I got the warm fuzzies from this. I thought it was
yeah,
funny.
because
I
there's a
laughed.
nostalgia,
Yeah,
the old high school romance and
yeah.
kind of enemies, frenemies kind of situation. It's just
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about any advice that you would give for writers optioning contracts, and especially when the script comes back to you, like this one did. So, is there any advice that you would give any up and coming writer about optioning, like your experience of that, or your experience, period? Because you have optioned and sold scripts. So it's not just this one I'm talking about. I'm talking about in life of when you get to that point and you start optioning a script or someone wants to buy it from you. Is there
Yeah.
like some points of advice you would give some newbies?
Be patient, because everything in this business moves at the pace of continental drift,
Mm-hmm.
including contracts, because it's got to go to this department, that department, the other. So be patient. It has nothing to do with you, if it's taking a while. In terms of the contract, don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for certain things. Now, if you have an attorney and a manager, that becomes easier. If
Mm-hmm.
you're unwrapped and whatnot, you're trying to do it on your own, it can be a little bit more, fuzzy and dicey. But don't be afraid to ask for things. There were things I wanted in my contract that at first Hallmark was like, I don't know. And my attorney was like, yeah, you want to do that. You want the script. So let's meet. And everybody came to the table. Um, I would say in terms of if you option something and how I think Hallmark had the option for 2 years. Not initially, they renewed after a couple times. If it comes back to you and it doesn't get greenlit, it's okay. It's Have your moment of disappointment, but again, it's not necessarily a reflection of you or your work. Needs change in this business all the time. You know, a new head of the department comes in and he or she, or they aren't looking for what you had.
Mm-hmm.
So take the pressure off yourself and don't feel like you're a failure because something gets optioned but doesn't get produced. The fact that you got optioned is amazing, that you even got through that door.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I would say. Be patient, ask questions, advocate for yourself. The worst thing they can do is say no. Um, know your worth and the worth of what you offer and bring, and then try to have fun. And if it doesn't get made, if you got that far, you've got other projects that are good and something will get made.
Yes.
Just
And
keep pushing. So
yes, and getting it optioned is, because I had something optioned too, and the same thing
oh,
happened
congrats. Yeah.
where they were like, yeah, we have, or for their slate, they were like, we already have like two other shows that's similar to
Yeah.
The Witcher, and I'm like, oh, okay. And like you said, lick your little wounds, and you just keep going. And every
Yeah.
time I'm like, hey, you have that moment of saying, hey, am I supposed to be doing this? And I'm not saying this is the end all be all. You have to be optioned to know that you're a good writer. No, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
But if you have and you're in the door is not opening again, we're saying remember that. Remember that you have talent that, just keep
Yep.
going. Keep going. This industry is a cutthroat sometimes.
Yeah.
It is fickle.
Fickle. Yes.
Fickle, I
Absolutely
believe, is the
fickle.
right
Fickle's a good
word.
word. Yes.
But your talent isn't. And
Exactly.
your talent's not
Exactly.
fickle.
Yep.
So in that way, I always get on the crate. I'm great. When talking to writers, because I just want other people who are still like trying to keep trying, like keep doing this
Yeah.
because it's worth it. Like, that I know I can't stay away from writing for very long.
No, I can't either.
I can't stay away from it very long. I have to come and write something. I have some new idea. I have to do something here. So in that, and I'm gonna get off my apple cart. My apple art. Let's talk about your character and themes and identity as a screenwriter. Um, you write about offbeat characters, like searching for a home.
Yes.
Um, why is that a reoccurring theme for you, and why do you root for it?
I think it's, oh, I know why it's a recurring thing for me. Because I've always felt a bit of an outcast. That's probably too strong of a word because I have friends and all that, but I've always felt like that the world operated on a system that I wasn't quite in tune with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've never quite settled into a place. I've never quite settled into even into my own self. I have a restless nature, And I think sometimes, like, wouldn't it be nice to just feel that existential peace, that universal peace, and just sit back, say, okay, this is where I belong. This is my home. I mean, I have a beautiful home and I love being here, but I mean, I'm talking home on a bigger scale a lot of the times, like the place where you know you belong.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers had it right. The theme song had it right, where everybody knows your name, and
Passionate. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's why I write about people searching for a place to call home. And the thing about a lot of my characters are looking for their lost piece of the American dream. I've always been really interested in, like, I love Severance. I'm not interested in writing about wealthy people. Um, Love watching them on TV and movies, but
Mhm.
it doesn't interest me. I'm interested in people, scrapping, people who are, which is interesting because I've never really had to scrap. Like, I've had a nice life, you know, and I'm not going to pretend that I haven't, but I'm interested in those people who are, I don't mean all those people. I mean, I'm interested in people who are as deserving as their piece of the American dream,
Mm-hmm.
but have just not been able to figure out how to get it.
Yes.
So,
I
but I
love
also
that.
don't want it to be too heavy. So that's where the comedy and whatnot comes in. So,
So, what is your favorite genre to write? Is it the dramedies or the rom-coms?
ooh, ooh, this is like, ooh, um, I would say it's like 50 to 51, 51 being the dramedies, because you
Mm-hmm.
can do a little bit more. Um, I'm not a heavily cynical writer, but sometimes you want to be a little cynical. You want to be a little, a little more crusty. And with rom-coms, although, these days is a little bit different. Like, you can sort of have a more edgy rom-com. Um, I love them both, but I think I think where my voice really soars is in dramedies, a little bit more than rom-coms. Um, because I'm not a romantic, which is kind of interesting. I'm not a romantic.
I
Yeah.
would have never thought.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I love romance, I have a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not someone, like, I'm not one of those people who dreamt of her wedding or any, no.
That is so interesting to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm not a deeply romantic person. Like, I don't believe in soulmates. I think any two people given the right circumstances can be soulmates or have a good partnership. So yeah, isn't that awful? It's just like so boring. So it's like so, wah, wah. I don't believe.
It's almost like Stephen King saying, "Hey, I'm not really into horror to me right now."
Yeah.
Because it's like you're so good at
But
romance.
I think it saves my stuff, my rom-coms, from being maybe mushy, a little too mushy. So,
Well, yeah, you have
so
a little bit of a critical eye to that, where you're
yeah,
not taking it over the line of
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that is so interesting to hear because in my mind I'm thinking all romance, and it's probably me too because I'm having such a crisis in writing romance like a
Mhm.
rom-com, and I'm just like maybe because I'm not romantic, maybe it's just because I said maybe the people who write really good romance, they're really into like romance, and I'm like, and I'm just kind of like I'm a horror girly, I'm a sci-fi
Yeah,
girly, and I'm an action girly, and I'm just like I don't know
yeah,
about setting up a wedding and their eyes meet across the. I
yeah,
it doesn't click in my head like that, and so
yeah.
I always assume that romance writers and rom-com writers come from that energy of that. So when you said, "Hey, no, I'm a dramedy," and I'm like, wait, so you're breaking it down where it's probably is me now, y'all. It's
No,
me.
no, no,
I'm the
no,
problem. I'm
no,
the
I don't think
problem.
so. I mean, I think I will say that I kind of fell into rom-com because,
Mhm.
as I said, I read that article and I thought, oh, and I said to a dear friend of mine, shout out to Jess, um, I was like, I don't think I can write a rom-com because I'm not romantic. And she said, I think she's a director. And she said, I think you are the perfect person to write a rom-com because of that. And so that's why I wrote Last Video Store in Alaska. It was my first rom-com, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's my first rom-com. And now I'm writing another one because I enjoy the genre. Um, but yeah, I kind of fell into it just because I wasn't going to write a horror in a video store in Alaska. So naturally it's going to be a rom-com then. I mean, it's perfect setting for a rom-com.
Oh,
So
gosh, Terry.
there's not been a lot of organization to my career. I just sort of go with what,
Yeah.
I want to write something. And so I figure out where it has to be set and what the genre is. And so far it's stuck to dramedy and rom-com for the most part. So
Well, thank you for kind of, pulling my head out of my butt on that one. Because I really truly thought, I was like, oh, that's the issue. But now I know. I just need to get out my own head, really,
yes.
possibly. I just need to get out of my own head and just get it down on paper, and we'll see what happens then. Um, let's talk a little bit about your personal, life. In your bio, you said you have 3 cats and 1 husband, and I burst out laughing when I first read that. I was like, okay, were you supposed to have multiple? Which is okay to have multiple
Yes.
spouses.
There we
I
go.
mean,
2025.
legally,
Yeah.
don't marry 2 at the same time, but have as many husbands and wives as you want. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
not knocking that, but I love that line. In the rom-com career, who causes the most drama in your house? Is the felines or the deadlines?
The felines. Without fail, it's my cats. They are all drama queens. They're all spoiled. Um, I'm in my writing room now, my office, and the door is right there. And they will walk past my husband and come to my door and cry if they want something. Sometimes they stick their paws under the door and rattle it if I
Mm-hmm.
don't pay attention to them. My husband doesn't do that. Like he
Mm-hmm.
will not, stick his foot under the door and rattle it because he wants my attention. And the deadlines, deadlines don't do that either. Like I like deadlines. They give me structure. My cats just give me gray hair because they're crazy. I love them. They're adorable. But
I
it's definitely
love.
the felines. They rule the house and they cause the drama.
That
So,
was going to be my next question. I was like, so you're telling me that they rule you guys?
oh, they do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. They rule us. We are owned by our 3 cats. So,
I would like to see if you can tell us, are there any other projects that are coming out from you that you're able to tell us that you're not under like NDA or under contract?
well, I do I recently sold another feature. I can't say anything else about that except that I'm extremely excited. I love the people I'm working with. Again, totally get the vibe that they love and appreciate writers. I'm working on my very first audio drama. Very excited about that.
And where would
Um,
that be? Where would that come out at, Terri, where people can hear?
it'll be a while because I'm still like working on the scripts, but
Okay.
the plan is to just release it on Apple Podcasts or
Hmm.
Spotify, wherever people listen. Um, I have a another rom-com that I'm writing, my very first Christmas rom-com, which is something I've always wanted to do. I love Christmas. I'm a Christmas girly, so I'm very excited about that. Set in New York because
Hmm.
if I could set every movie I wrote in New York, I probably would. And what else do I have? I'm toying with the idea. I'd like to write my first novel, but like a cozy mystery. But that's way down the road. If you could see, I have a big whiteboard here, and I've
Hmm.
got just all kinds of projects written on it. I mean, that's the trick with writers, right? We have to know what to write and just go for it, and not we're distracted by shiny things. And
Yes. The new idea just popped up in your head. You go
yes,
to the grocery store, I don't know, you see an eggplant, and something pops in your head about a story about how
yeah,
you can make a story around an eggplant. And mine, please don't think I'm crazy. I may see an eggplant and say, hey, how many different ways can you kill somebody with an eggplant?
that sounds like my kind of movie, a horror with eggplant death. I'd say I would tune in for that. That's awesome. With vegetable death, like that's
How my brain goes.
yeah,
But I have to write it down. So you capture your ideas and you put it on your whiteboard. I capture mine and I put mine in my notebook.
yeah,
Our notebooks
yes, yes,
around,
notebooks. And
around the house.
it's so hard too. Like if you're working on something and maybe it's not going well, and then you got a new idea and there's that juice and energy, and you're like, well, let me put this one I'm working on aside because the other one is so
It's
much more
calling
fresh.
you.
Yeah, it's calling you, and it's easy. It's easy to do the research. It's fun. I mean, I love the research phase. But I found that if you're having trouble with a script and you can plow through and pull yourself out, that's where the really good stuff lives. You know, if you can get yourself out of those story knots, or if you're bored and you can figure out why you're bored with the script, it usually has to do with the story. You're not telling it the way this, because one thing I say, and I know writers disagree with me on this, but like that your characters will never let you take them where they don't want to go. And so if something's not working in a script, I'm always like, is the character telling me they don't want this to happen? At least
Mm-hmm.
not right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy just to start another script, start another project, and be like, oh, I'll come back to you later, you know. But we've got to soldier on, get through those sticky spots.
Yeah, you got to keep going to the end. I know you all have heard me say, "Hey, I've stopped and gone on the rom com," but that's just my imposter telling
Yeah,
me, "What are you doing here?" But she is right. You need to just keep going through, just keep
yeah,
going until you get the fade out. You can
yeah.
always, you're going to rewrite it probably 1,000 times.
Yes.
You know, some of us we rewrite it
Yes,
a thousand
I
times.
rewrite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that means that you can never abandon a project. I
Hmm.
mean, I think we know. I think especially writers have been writing for a while. We know when you're just not clicking. I had something I was writing a couple of years ago, finished the whole first draft, and I just thought, yeah, I'm just not. It's not clicking. Like I don't. This is not the story I want to be writing right now. And maybe someday I'll go back to it. But I think that's different than this is a hard bit. I don't know how to get out of this corner I've written myself into.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm going to put this aside. I think those are two different scenarios for writers. So
Okay. And I love that advice because, people can be very hard on themselves by not getting the fade out
yes,
on a script that they have, had the idea for. And like you said, they can get locked in a moment and say, hey, I don't know how to continue this. And you don't have the passion for it. And then you're beating yourself up because you're not getting to fade out.
yeah,
I totally agree. You might need to say, hey, let me put this to the side here and get something that I'm more passionate about. But
yeah,
if you know how to write that ending, write every scene that you have in your head down before you put it away. Like
yes. Oh,
write everything
absolutely.
out, the
Yes.
characters, the scenes, write everything out before you put it away. That's my advice. Even if you're stuck in one portion, oh, if you have the ending, write that freaking ending.
Yeah.
Get it on.
Oh, yeah.
That may inspire you
Yeah.
to, go
Absolutely.
back and change it or get you out of the hole that you're, the corner that you locked yourself into. So I totally agree with that, Terry. You have such good gems. I love that. I
Oh,
love it.
thank
You
you.
have to come back, Terry.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, I would absolutely love to. That would be fun.
You got to come back and and promote all your stuff. I would love
Oh, I
for
would love that.
you to come
Yes.
back and tell everyone all the the goodies that are coming out for you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Before you go,
Mhm.
I'm changing up my question for how
Okay.
would you write it? And we're gonna put it for your film, The Last Video Store in Alaska. So if you were the owner of the last video store in Alaska, and you had a section for staff picks, can you name me at least four movies that will be your staff picks in your video
Oh,
store?
okay. Number one would be Big Night. I don't know if you've seen that. Adore that movie. It's with Stanley Tucci about two brothers who are opening a restaurant. Yeah,
Yes.
love that movie. My favorite rom-com of all time, While You Were Sleeping. I'm a big Sandra Bullock groupie.
I love While You Were
It's
Sleeping.
such a great movie. Searching for Bobby Fischer. I don't know
Yes,
if
that
you've
was,
seen
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, The Empire Strikes Back. Probably my favorite sci-fi movie. That's four, right?
Hmm.
Probably those are the movies I'd probably put on there.
I love it. I love it. Now, where can everybody find you, Terry?
So I am on Threads, just under Terri Viani. I'm on Insta, same name. I'm not on there a lot. Probably where I these days I'm focusing on Threads and Blue Sky. That's predominantly where I am. I am on Facebook, but I guess I post on Facebook. So yeah, people can find me all over the socials. So
Well, I love that. And again, thank you so much for coming on How Would You Write It?
oh, you're welcome. It's been a blast.
And I just want to say to the audience and folks who are watching and the newbies who are still, working their heart out to get in the door, that, being creative can be a lonely process because you're in your head a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're behind a screen, you're behind a canvas, you're behind a keyboard, and sometimes no one's there to say, hey, I believe in you. And I just want to be that person. And I know I say this after every interview, but, I think that is important for someone to say, hey, I believe in you. You
Oh, I
can do
love that.
this. You have this gift for a reason.
Yeah,
You
love that.
do. You have this gift. And like I said earlier, as Terri and I agree, it calls you. Your gift calls you to do it. And so keep going, keep doing it. I believe in you. And you have this. And we will see you next time on How Would You Write It?